Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. We'll be resuming our lessons in memorizing and reading and revising the Qur'an. So it seemed appropriate to just read some points that one of the shuyukh has put with regards to memorizing the Qur'an. And there are many tips and rules or principles that different teachers have put in place. So we'll just read through some of these inshallah ta'ala, and we'll cater them to the individual needs of the students as you come to the lesson. Here the author rahimahullah ta'ala wa hafidhahullah says قواعد وضوابط في الحفظ. So principles and regulations with regards to memorization. Number one, he says الحفظ يكون من مصحف موحد في الطبعة. That the main point being here is that the memorization should be from one print of the mushaf. Now we have the printing press where copies are made of the mushaf of the Qur'an that are the same, and we should take advantage of that. Why is this important that you use the same print? Because there are various benefits. From them, he says that this will make the memorization more firm in your mind. I.e., when you look, you'll know where the page is. You remember whether the ayah is going to be. Is it at the top of the page? Is it at the bottom of the page? You remember the end. You'll remember the ending of the pages and so forth, because you're using the same print all the time. Whereas today, if you use one print where, say, the surah finishes at the top of the page, and tomorrow use another print where the surah finishes at another part of the page, or for example, the handwriting is different, then this will all weaken. These will be factors which weaken your memorization, or at least they don't help it. The fact that things are the same will standardize it in your mind, and it will make it easier for it to be memorized. It will be an aiding factor. So using the same mushaf all the time, and it means the same print mushaf. If you have the same mushaf that you have yourself all the time, that's even better, because you'll see your teacher will circle where you make mistakes. So when you revise that part, that's going to help you, because you know where to focus in your revision. So try to use your own mushaf all the time. And if you lose your mushaf, then get another one that is the same print, i.e. the same edition, in terms of how the writing style and the color of the page and so on is. Number two, he says, يجب أن يكون حفظك على شيخ لتصحيح التلاوة. Your recitation or your memorization should be in the presence and with a teacher who is able to correct your recitation, either tajweed and the pronunciation of the letters and so forth. Number three, ليكون حفظك يوميا فالانقطاع يضعف الهمة والحفظ. That your memorization should be daily, because cutting off will end up weakening your enthusiasm and weakening your memorization. Memorizing, or the strength of memorization, is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more stronger it will get. And when you stop, you'll notice that you'll become lazy sometimes. Getting back into the routine of it will be hard. And also your memorization will start to get weaker. Just like a person who stops working out, or a person who stops doing sport, then you'll see that his muscles and his endurance and stamina will get weaker. So normally they advise that you memorize something every day, even if it's a small amount. Sometimes they make istithna, they exclude from this a day for revision. So they'll say memorize 6 days a week, and on the 7th day you do revision of everything that you memorized. In that sense, you're still using your memory, because you're revising something recently memorized. But the main aim here is that you don't stop. So if your lesson is once a week, then from that day to the next lesson, you should try to memorize something, your homework, every day, either memorizing it or reviewing it, preparing it for the lesson. He says here, الأصل في الحفظ هو التكرار وكلما ازداد التكرار صار الحفظ أتقن. The foundation or the guiding rule, the asl with regards to memorization, is repetition. And the more a person repeats or increases in the amount of times he repeats the ayah or the part that he's trying to memorize, the more that his memorization will become stronger. There's no secret to it. Sometimes you read 10 tips for memorization and different new methods in memorizing and so forth. Yes, there may be some things which make it easier at times. There's certain small tips, but generally speaking, the essence of it, and it all returns back to, after the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making a lot of dua and making tawbah and so forth, the spiritual aspects. In terms of the practical aspects, it returns back to repetition, repeating a lot. He says here, now something that is maybe discussed by different teachers. الحفظ يكون من سورة الناس إلى سورة البقرة لأنه أيسر. So your memorization journey should be from Surah Nas, so the last surah in the Quran, and then go up all the way to Surah Baqarah, because this is أيسر, this is easier. وبعد اكتمال حفظك للقرآن تكون مراجعتك من البقرة إلى الناس. And after you finish memorizing the Quran, or you complete the memorization of the Quran, then your revision will be from Baqarah until Nas. This here is going to be disputed, okay? There's different methods, it depends, but we'll discuss that another time. He says, number 6, إذا ضاق عليك وقت الحفظ والمراجعة فقدم المراجعة على الحفظ. If the timing of memorization and revision becomes restricted, ضاق is too tight, you don't have enough time to do both, then he says فقدم المراجعة, then give precedence or preference to the revision above the memorization. I.e., if you only have time to either revise or memorize, then make sure you revise. Don't memorize new things and forget your revision. And this is something that many shuyukh say, that what is more important is that you keep what you have. And this is generally the rule. But there are some exceptions. And we may discuss them in class, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. He says, لا تنتقل إلى حفظ صفحة جديدة إلا بعد إتقان ما قبلها من دون خطأ في المحفوظ أو تردد. Don't go to memorize a new page except or until you have memorized the page which was before it. Without, this memorization of the page before it should be without, من دون خطأ, without any mistakes, في الحفظ, في المحفوظ, in that which you're memorizing, and without taraddud. This is another point. Don't move forward if you're not able to recite it fluently, i.e. from memory. So if you come to read to your teacher your page, or your half a page, and you're stuttering a lot, you may not make a mistake, alhamdulillah, but you're stuttering, you're pausing a lot, then that needs extra work. Because if you're already like that now, then by the time you move on to your next page and the next page after that, you'll already have forgotten that page because it's not firm in your mind. So it's very important that just because you can read something without mistake doesn't mean you're ready to move on. You should be able to read it fluently without mistake, at least the first time that you read it to your teacher. And then you need to do muraja'ah to keep it. Then the last point that the author rahimahullah mentions here, كل من حفظ القرآن يتفلت منه المحفوظ في السنتين الأولين وهذه تسمى مرحلة التجميع فلا تحزن, do not be sad, من تفلت القرآن منك أو كثرة خطئك. So do not be sad. Okay, translation or rough translation, everyone that memorizes the Quran, his memorization, that which he has memorized, will become sometimes confusing to him. He will miss certain parts, it will escape him. في السنتين الأوليين, in the first 2 years. So today you finish your memorization of the Quran, you're doing muraja'ah and you're memorizing the Quran. Once you finish, in the first 2 years, you're going to find that there's still going to be difficulty. If someone tries to say, okay, memorize from here, you still get confused. Don't panic, don't worry. لا تحزن, don't be sad. Or because of this thing where there's Quran or the ayat escape you sometimes. You're not super fluent and confident. And don't be sad due to the mistakes. You'll make a lot of mistakes. Don't be sad because of that. Because this, the Shaykh mentions, is وَهَذِي تُسَمَّى مَرْحَلَةُ التَّجْمِيعِ. This stage here, after you've completed your first memorization, then this is called the time of bringing it together. Okay, مرحلة التجميع, bringing the memorization all together, solidifying it. And he says here, and the shaitan will have a portion, he will partake in trying to make you give up on your memorization of the Quran, try to make you, you've memorized it, but to try to stop you from keeping that memorization, to try to stop you from revising it. Don't listen to the Quran, don't listen to the shaitan. The shaitan here, Shaykh says, the shaitan will have a portion of wanting to make you feel down so that you don't revise and you give up on your memorization. He says, don't listen to him. فَدَعْ عَنْكَ سَهُ. So leave off his whisperings. وَاسْتَمِرَّ فِي حِفْظِ الْقُرْآنِ. And carry on in memorizing the Qur'an. فَهُوَ كَنْزٌ لَا يُعْطَى لِأَيِّ أَحَدٍ. Because it is a treasure which is not given to just anyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to benefit from these qawaid, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from Ahlul Qur'an and give us the strength and select us to be of those who memorize his book, his speech, and act upon it and ponder over it. Jazakumullahu khairan.